Hello! We now start a special edition of What's Happening in Brazil. Reformulated and with a new identity, the program will now reach more places in the world through our partners' vehicles. To mark this turning point, this week's edition has as its main focus the environment, one of the major issues and an area in which Brazil has once again played an important international role. In 2025, the country will host the COP30, the UN Conference on Climate Change. And until then, we'll update you on the challenge on this topic and several other news from the country. Hi, my name is Nara Chagas, and you'll find out now what's happening in Brazil. And we start this special edition with a worrying news regarding the environment. On the last August 2nd, the world had already exhausted its biological limits for the year 2023. According to the environmental NGO Global Footprint Network, located in the United States, humanity would need about 1.7 planets to maintain its current lifestyle. The so-called Earth Overlord Day came 5 days later than in 2022. But environmentalists consider that the imposition of limits to the exaggerated exploitation of natural resources is happening too slowly. Here in Brazil, a study released by several indigenous associations in partnership with Unifesp evaluated the 6 months of the Operation Yanomami. The operation was launched by the federal government in January to combat malnutrition and illegal mining inside the indigenous land. According to this study, there have been important advances in the region. However, there are still areas being exploited by illegal miners and also a feeling of insecurity among the indigenous people due to the lack of real territorial control. On August 2nd, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Brazil decided to reduce the basic interest rate of the national economy by half a percentage point. The decision will reduce the Brazilian public debt by around 21 billion reais, which corresponds to more than $4 billion. Since the beginning of his term, President Lula has criticized the high interest rates maintained by the central bank. Members of the government's economy team celebrate the reduction.
Eu penso que as perspectivas são muito boas, não é por outra razão que não seja o retorno para a sociedade do esforço que a sociedade, por meio de seus representantes, já fez nos primeiros 6 meses desse ano. Nada menos do que 4 agências de rating, aquelas que dão nota para um país do ponto de vista econômico, revisassem a sua nota apenas no primeiro semestre, sendo que uma delas chegou a mudar a nota do Brasil, aproximando o Brasil daquilo que é almejado pelo país, que é ter grau de investimento.
The city of Guarujá, on the coast of the state of São Paulo, suffered days of terror. A military police operation may have caused up to 19 deaths in the city. The mega operation began on July 28th. The day after the death of soldier Patrick Bastos Reis. Residents denounced cases of execution and torture. The governor of the state, Tarcísio Freitas, stated that there was no excess in the police action. Investigations, however, are still ongoing. More than 50 families from the Veradão settlement in Chapadinha in the state of Maranhão, northeastern Brazil, are threatened by an agribusiness company from São Paulo. Despite the situation, the environmental license was issued in favor of the company, which has been questioned by the Rural Workers Federation of Maranhão.
Expansion of agribusiness and increase in violence. Problems that communities in the region where the Veradão settlement is located in the state of Maranhão have been facing more strongly since 2022. Families denounced deforestation in an extractive area and threats by the company GMB Investimentos Holding.
Since I was a child, since I can remember, We've lived there with the other families, and now he says it's his area. Put the name Vereda to deforest and said he got a license to deforest this area. But this area is precisely one of the reasons for being a settlement. Because of the Bacuri Reserve, because we wanted to guarantee protection for it. Because one day someone could do some damage and we could not do anything about it.
Families denounce the use of a cruel deforestation practice called big chain. Despite the risks, they place themselves in front of tractors in an attempt to prevent the cutting of bacuri trees, a typical fruit of the region, from which they derive their livelihood.
We get in front of tractors, women, men, children, many, up to 40, 60 people.
In view of the conflict situation, the Union of Rural Workers in Chapadinha has acted in favor of families, along with other agencies and entities.
We here at the union follow all this, day and night. The attacks they make on the settlements really happen at the weekend, so we can't do anything about it. Several agencies are helping us because we do not have the approval of the state government and the federal government, which is INCRA, which could help us. What happens is employees helping to cause this damage along with these corrupt companies.
Threatened families are in dialogue with the Human Rights Department to monitor the conflict and participate in protection programs. They also ask for the environmental license issued for the company to operate in the region to be cancelled. The local farmers claim the permission is illegal.
Estamos aguardando ansiosos.
We're looking forward to the resolution of this conflict because there are lives that are in that settlement that live there since they were born, in fact, so they have legitimate possession. It was expropriated by INCRA. And we hope that this situation will be resolved as soon as possible.
The State Secretariat for the Environment said in a note that the licensing process followed the laws and that the licensed property does not overlap with the settlements. INCRA and the company GMB Investimentos Holding did not respond to the report.
Parliamentarians plead with the federal government to create a national park to protect Serra do Curral, an icon of the city of Belo Horizonte, capital of Minas Gerais in southeastern Brazil. The society warns that with no popular participation, the policy will not bring benefits and will be ineffective in protecting this public asset.
A new chapter is being written in the state of Minas Gerais to try to protect the Serra do Curral from the advance of mining companies. Since the beginning of July, the creation of a national park in the territory has been articulated with the federal government. The initiative, by parliamentarians from Minas Gerais, has already been handed over to the Minister of the Environment, Marina Silva, and is being evaluated by the department. The proposal must also undergo an assessment by ICMBio, the responsible environmental agency.
We have an idea of having a national park there, but it is not that fake park that Governor Zema is wanting to build, in which he hands over the entire Serra to mining companies and reserves a small part to make a pretend park. It is to make a national park.
For society, the proposal is good, but it requires attention. For example, if an ecological station legislation is established for the territory, visitations will be restricted. Conservation units, on the other hand, are open to visits. Another concern is the recent wave of privatization of environmental parks led by former President Jair Bolsonaro. In August 2021, several nationally protected parks in the state of Minas Gerais, such as Canastra, Serra do Cipó, and Caparaó, were added to the list of the National Privatization Program. With the delivery of assets, some of these territories will be under the control, for example, of the mining company Vale.
The national park is an interesting proposal, but we have experiences with national parks that are not so positive. We have right there behind the Serra do Gandarela Massif, which was given as a national park, but which during the process of making it at the federal level suffered retaliation from a very heavy lobby in the area that mattered the most to preservation, which was the synclinal, was left out of the conservation unity.
In the activists' evaluation, the only way to avoid situations like this is to guarantee effective popular participation in the construction of the project.
We want people to be heard during this process, that the institutions that are here are incorporated into this process, that Manzo and other quilombos that use the area are also incorporated, so that we have a better model of heritage protection. We are apprehensive, but we have hope and believe that if this process is truly participatory, it could yield good results. So I think the fight now is for us to guarantee participation, and the more people involved in this process, the better.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.